As a fan of the Dark Angels chapter, I was excited to see not only a range refresh, but also a completely new unit, the Inner Circle Companions. The models look quite nice. Of course, they have the compulsory robes. However, the Horus Heresy era units, precisely the Inner Circle Knights and Deathwing Companions, really ooze the Dark Angels' grim darkness and have this ancient vibe. There are also great fan art images of the Knights of the planet Caliban, the homeworld of the Unforgiven, especially one with a helmet with a huge deer antlers. Looks fantastic. At the same time, I recently came across one of my first kitbashes I did some decades ago as a kid. It was a regular Space Marine, now would be called Firstborn, with a head of the Bretonnian Knight of the Realm added. I also used part of the Knight's helmet, kind of hood, as a tabard for my Marine. I used a biker's arm to make a pose like he was aiming his bolter, and I added a huge ammo magazine to his gun. In his other hand, I placed a weapon looking like Foshard or Naginata that I made from some Skaven sword and a shaved down piece of sprue. All this made me thinking about creating some kind of Caliban Knights, or in other words, companions of the inner circle of the inner circle, even more ancient. In my collection I still have some Bretonnian minis, some still in sprue since the late 90s. Considering the recent re-release for the Warhammer Old World, I thought it would be a nice idea to make some more kitbashes, following my original idea. By the way, there is a great video about a bit similar idea by the Tabletop Time. They combine Terminators with Bretonnian bits. I knew I wanted to use Firstborn Marines. The armor was meant to be really old, from the Caliban itself, and I wanted to use Bretonnian bits. I bashed one more guy in a similar manner as my dusted black and white knight. I've equipped him with an old style bolt pistol that, compared to Primary's weaponry, looks like this cute little gun Jay got in the first Man in Black movie. I've also added a shield on his back and used parts of the helmet's hood to make some fancy kind of tabard. For the third guy, I wanted to go even more medieval and use a head of a Bretonnian bowman with this great British-like helmet. This knight was meant to be a standard bearer, as in the original Inner Circle Companions set, so I took an arm with a lance from the Knight of the Realm sprue, and as the other one I used a marine arm but without the shoulder pad to make the two more similar. The banner itself I've cut out from a thin copper plate and added some folds. I wanted to follow the color scheme visible in the official Game Workshop photos of the Deathwing Companions, so black armor with some parts in bone white, like the Deathwing Terminators. I wanted to add red accents following the Horus Heresy era Dark Angels and Inner Circle Companions colors. I've realized I'm not a big fan of painting Space Marine armor, especially the edge highlighting, so this time I decided to try a bit different approach, something in the lines of the video made by a great painter Lucas from Squidma Miniatures, so more volume highlights. I've started with base coating whole minis in brownish red. I like to use one color as a deep shadow for the whole model. Then I started building rough volumes of the black armor, going through grays up to almost white color. Then I toned it down back with a black wash. The parts with bone white were done similarly, but with less color distance between the layers. I wanted to try to make some parts with the non-metallic metal technique. I use it for small gold details like skull symbols, etc. For other parts I use metallic silver paint, but I layered some highlights by mixing it with white. I really like checkered patterns, so I've recreated one on the shoulder pad of the minis following my original kitbash concept. For the robes, crests on the helmets and a shield, I used red base coat and highlighted them delicately towards light red pinkish. As always, I added some freehands, Dark Angels symbols on the knee pads and on the banner. I've also added an inscription saying Caliban on the banner. It was really cool to try painting letters. For these minis, I wanted to prepare some more elaborate bases and do some sculpting. The idea was to make them look like parts of the ancient halls of the Dark Angels' flying fortress, the Rock. I started with adding some layers of cork to build a base for the stairs steps. Then I added milliput and used some 3D printed rollers that I got as a bonus when I bought a second-hand copy of the Cursed City game. This way I created a pattern of big stone tiles. To make the bases look more gothic, I've added some hand-sculpted candles. It was a nice opportunity to test my new sculpting tools that I bought for a few bucks and which were advertised for decorating cakes. To make the candles more convincing, I've added wicks made from wire. After applying black base coat, I applied several layers of grey, making each a bit brighter up till white. I've applied subsequent layers while they were still wet to achieve marble-like look. I followed this idea by adding some green and gold veins. I've painted the candles red and highlighted them towards yellow. All that was left was to glue the knights to the bases, and the companions of the even more inner circle are ready to hunt the fallen, or forgive them, whatever the current law says.